Well, millions of Australian workers are either voluntarily working from home right now or they have no choice in the matter. Last year's lengthy lockdowns gave us a taste of how to remain productive in a restricted world. But what happens when staff do work from home? Do employers dispense with their legal and safety responsibilities? Not at all, according to a workplace expert with Freeman Lawyers. Gaius Whiffin is dealing with a case already where an employee who'd become injured whilst working from home is suing for compensation. He joins me now. Gaius, thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Chris.
With so many people working from home, do you think that employers understand their obligations at the moment or have dispensed with them?
No, they probably don't, Chris. I mean, the workplace at home is the same as the workplace at work. It needs to be set up in an ergonomic manner. It needs to, especially in relation to things like desk height, things like phone setup and so forth, it needs to be set up so that, in the same way it would be at work.
So do they send people to people's homes to get this done, or should there be emails sent to make sure that these things are changed? What should they be doing?
Well, look, that's happened in the past. I mean, there's been an increasing trend towards working at home. 20 years ago, very few people were working at home. It's gradually increased, and there's a lot of insurance companies, for example, have had people working at home for a long while and have rules for an ergonomic setup. I think the issue with the COVID is that it comes along quite quickly. It came along quite quickly in March last year. People have started to work at home. After a period of time, they get back into the office, and there tends to be a sort of lack of certainty about the home setup from there.
So if someone's at home and if they contract the virus, technically, theoretically, is some of that onus or responsibility on their bosses?
Well, that will depend a lot upon the particular state they're in. There are different laws in different states for workers' compensation. Work still has to be a substantial, significant. It's a different word in different states. Factor towards the contraction. So, if, for example, they contract COVID from their spouse, well, it possibly doesn't even happen in the work time. So that might be a bit more tricky. But certainly, if, for example, they contract a bad back or from their work setup, they can certainly make a workers' compensation claim for that. Workers' compensation is social legislation. It's been around for about 100 years. You don't have to necessarily prove fault. If you can prove fault, then there are other rights that apply. But as long as you're injured during work hours, and if you're working at home, not if your normal work hours are working 9 to 5, you're working at home 9 to 5, then you're going to be covered for injuries that occur during that time, even if it's not your employer's fault.
So will you also be covered if, for instance, you get to 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you're taking a break and something happens and you're injured? Are you also covered for the break?
In New South Wales, you are. Section 11 of the Act covers what they call recess claims. Again, there are different laws in different states around the country, but generally you're going to be covered. I believe most states will cover what they call recess claims. So,
and you're handling one of those cases right now, right?
The difference is that when you're at home, you will spend your recess doing things like walking the dog, jogging around the block, things that you might not do when you're actually in the workplace. But, and yes, certainly in terms of having a swim, for example, in the surf. And there are certain, you can get injured doing that.
And you've got a case on your plate in reference to that, haven't you?
Yes, I do. And at the moment, liability has been accepted by the insurer. You really have to put yourself at an abnormal risk of injury not to be covered during your recess breaks. That's lunch. It's also, making a cup of tea. I did have a case many years ago where a lady tripped down the stairs making a cup of tea during her normal tea break and broke her ankle, I think it was, I can't remember. But you're certainly covered for those sorts of normal, ordinary recess breaks that you would have.
So just getting back to that case you've covered, you've got someone who's gone for a surf in their recess break, had a terrible injury, and the insurance company has accepted liability.
That's right.
A whole new ball game. Gaius Whiffin, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Gaius Whiffin from Turner Freeman, a whole new frontier. Watch out.